quote artist Katya Chitova, "Compared to conventional filmmaking, experimental film is a form of art that is far more abstract, unpredictable, and forgiving." Experimental film, also known as avant-garde cinema, is a kind of filmmaking that has reevaluated cinematic conventions and explores alternatives to the traditional linear narratives of mainstream filmmaking. The genre of experimental film isn't characterized by one distinct style, but rather a range of them that over the years have been explored by a multitude of different artists that all have rendered their personal visions. These styles have always been in opposition to the practices of mainstream commercial and documentary filming. A popular way to describe this work is underground. Russia has a rich history of experimental film, as it was home to one of the pioneers of the genre, Dziga Vertov. Vertov was driven by his passion to reshape cinematic language, focused on abandoning all non-documentary styles of filmmaking. He believed in a technique known as Kino Eye, which was also the name of a movement and group defined by it. Kino Eye strived to capture what Vertov believed to be inaccessible to the human eye, footage that when assembled in a distinct montage form, created a new, previously unseen truth. Dziga Vertov reshaped the genre of avant-garde cinema with his 1929 film Man with a Movie Camera. In it, he experiments with a plethora of techniques, such as stop motion, slow motion, split screen, the concept of Russian montage, and simply taking the camera places where it had never gone before, all to tell the story of the frantic but also pleasant life of low-class Soviet workers. In doing so, he abandons a linear narrative format, as his film is made without intertitles, scenario, actors, sets, and other common aspects of theater. This method can be seen in such films as Inception, Koyaanisqatsi, Baraka, and Night and Fog. First, let's discuss, in my opinion, the most delightful part of the film. In a whimsical little sequence, the movie camera, you know, the one that belongs to the man, decides it can function perfectly fine on its own and begins to spin and frolic on its three legs. In 1924, Vertov directed the Soviet Union's first ever animated film, called Soviet Toys, which used a similar animation technique. By slightly moving the inanimate object between each frame, he created the illusion that the camera could move of its own accord and came to life before the audience's eyes. This is evidence of some of the earliest and most influential special effects, and still gives the same whimsical feel, as seen in Pez's Fresh Guacamole and Star Wars.
So we did it in stop motion, and we did it with models that were as big as a person can animate, which is about the size that a person can get their hands in to move it frame at a time.
Vertov was also one of the first filmmakers to experiment with frame rates, manipulating the number of frames per second that film passed through the camera, which was usually 24, in favor of distorting the speed of the action to focus deep attention and create a certain aura about a moment in time. Vertov chooses to use slow motion during an athletic competition to heighten the drama of the impressive display of physical prowess. Slow-mo allows the audience to observe the individual skill and athleticism of the competitors in in-depth detail, and the result is magnificently beautiful. Though in the 1920s it was groundbreaking, today this technique is commonplace in sports broadcasting to emphasize the incredible technique and athleticism behind certain stellar plays. Here, in Koyaanisqatsi scene The Grand Illusion, slow motion is used to give the audience time to take an in-depth look at the people of the city. The bustle of urban life is ceased momentarily, and it has a wondrous effect, as the audience is allowed briefly to deeply consider these people on the screen. What are they thinking? Where are they headed? This moment of peace created by the slow motion echoes Vertov, as he used it in his athletics competition segment to momentarily exit the narrative of stressful Soviet factory daily life, and focus deeply on the beauty of athletics and recreation. Okay, so far, these special effects may seem pretty Remember, that's because they're so mainstream nowadays. They were groundbreaking in the 1920s. Vertov built the foundation for the popularity of these effects with Man with a Movie Camera, and is a large part of the reason we have advanced this far with our special effects technology. For example, take Christopher Nolan's Inception. Remember how floored we all were when the city folded over on itself? Was paying homage to this effect in Man with a Movie Camera. In this shot, Vertov merges two clips of these gardens and tilts them so it seems as if they are folding over on themselves. This is the work of double exposure. Vertov exposed two images to the same strip of film to overlay them. He also uses this to put this guy in a pint of beer. While Nolan used CGI to do his effect, The practice of double exposure has been used for decades to create things like spooky horror movie monsters and beautiful surreal imagery. A technique similar in practice to double exposure is split screen. Virtov uses the split screen to trick the eye, making the audience believe that they are seeing different actions in different spaces at the same time. With his hand-cranked 35mm camera, Virtov would have achieved this effect by covering part of the lens to first create an image with an empty half, then winding back the film and shooting over it again with the other half covered. Here, he uses it to let us view a dancer at different points in her performance at the same time. While it doesn't quite have as a dramatic or emotional effect as double exposure or slow motion, split screen certainly adds style to films, whether it be used to join together two ideas, like a conversation between two people, expectations versus reality,
I write greeting cards.
But Tom could be a really great architect if he wanted to be.
or two very different things happening in the same place. Russian montage is a huge aspect of Dziga Vertov's style, and as a result, has been a long-standing part of the avant-garde genre. It's used to abandon the individual meaning of a shot in a sequence in favor of what it means when it's juxtaposed with multiple others. Vertov uses it to portray the electrification, industrialization, and achievements of workers through hard labor in a very surreal way, through juxtaposition of long shots of endlessly spinning machinery and the madness of the city trying to get to work in the morning. Russian montage is used to capture a certain feeling and present the world in a certain way. Like in Koyaanisqatsi, it's used to juxtapose the busyness of a city with the complexity of a circuit board, showing how the two are similar in the theme of intricate interconnectivity, and the way they both light up gives a sense of exciting electricity, that they both are alive. However, in Night and Fog, it presents a completely different mood. It links the past and present of Auschwitz and Majdanek, showing how the horrific activities that once occurred in these places have resulted in a hollow wasteland, forever haunted by fear and death. These images create an unforgettable sense of dread. Lastly, Vertov revolutionized the genre of avant-garde by experimenting with the limits of documentary-style filmmaking, exploring just how far he could take the camera. He made things look especially trippy, introduced the audience to new perspectives, and awed us all with his audacity. Today, the camera has been taken to so many places. Scary places.
And Josh's mom. And my mom.
Tell me where you are, Josh!
Breathtaking places. And all the places in between. Vertov's influence is still reaching us each day, as directors are getting progressively more creative with these techniques. And as technology grows, who knows who will be the next Vertov? Spoiler alert, it's Keith Lurd.